Folks, first, thank you so much for doing this interview with me. I've had the pleasure of watching this fantastic movie from beginning to end. I'm going to ask you straight out, and I'm not going to really ask directly to whoever. Anybody can answer the question, where did you come up with an idea like this? Actually, before we even do that, let's talk about what the basis of this film is first.
Well, I mean, I've been working on a feature film for the past 5 years, and we wanted to make a short film that's kind of in the same thematic space and visual style. So the short film Alazar is really like a first entry into the world of the feature film that I'm about to make soon. So that's where it started, is to kind of it's the reason why we created the short film is to showcase what I wanted to say, and also what the film would look like once we make the feature. So that's how it started. But then, kind of got its own story. It kind of has its own distinct take on things. So it kind of snowballed from there to be its own independent film. So that's where it started.
So that's where it started. But what is it exactly about for folks who haven't seen it yet?
Well, the film is about a community of people in Ethiopia that's going through some hard times. And, like the local church declares a miracle. And the central family, the protagonist and his family, are not really convinced about the miracle. And so especially the protagonist, Tasama, starts asking questions and investigating on his own to get to the bottom of this central mystery in the film. So it really is like a detective story in some ways, and yeah, but I don't want to give up too much of the story, so I'll leave it at that.
Let's do that because I do not want to ruin this for folks because I was taken on a roller coaster ride with this. How did you both get involved together for this?
We met in Ethiopia. We've been trying to figure out exactly how, but somewhere like 6, 7 years ago. And as Beza mentioned, started working on his feature, but realized we wanted to do a short first to help sort of establish him as a dramatic director, specifically because a lot of his past work was in documentary.
I I have to say this, and hopefully not giving too much away. This is I felt so sad watching this. And you understand the reasons behind this. But at the same time, there's a beauty in this too, because to me, this really was about two things: family and faith. Do you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. I think you nailed it.
How did you how were you able to make such an amazing story around those two elements?
Well, I mean, it just came together, I suppose. But for me, the main point of making the film was to explore the idea of faith in the Ethiopian context, and how kind of correlates with our everyday realities and the tough times that we go through. And family is also an important part of a community. It's really central, especially in Ethiopia. Family is like the cornerstone of like a community. And so it really was integral to making the film was to really explore this family dynamics and the faith involved in a community like this to make this film. So for me, it's a story that's really like mines those two things, but they're naturally connected. It's not like something that's that far apart. And so it was organically, it came together really organically for me. That's how it's kind of came together.
Now, I've been to 2 years ago, I went to South Africa. And so what I experienced weather-wise was beautiful. Um, I can only imagine what it was like filming where you were, because I kept watching this and I'm going, oh my goodness, these people are putting on such great performances in this type of heat. Am I correct with this? And let's put it this way, it wasn't like I was seeing any comforts. What was it like to be able to use the elements around you and make it such an important part in this film?
Well, I mean, yes, it was really brutal. The sun and the wind. We were really high up as well. Like the place that we were filming in, it was kind of really like high up, and so the weather was kind of brutal most days. But it was really part of the story too. So I was really happy to experience all of that and to put it in the film. And so the film is a landscape-based film. It really revolves around the weather and what's around us. And Ethiopia is a highly agrarian community. A lot of people are farmers, and their lives depend on the land and the landscape around them and the weather. So it was important to include that in the film's visual style. So I was happy to go through all of those things to capture these beautiful landscapes.
As a producer, though, what were the difficulties knowing where location was and just everything? What were the difficulties on this? Because I didn't see any difficulties. And like it worked, but I can only imagine when all this stuff was being put together, you going, oh my goodness, how are we going to do this?
Well, maybe you not seeing any difficulties is always, the magic of cinema. I think, I mean, I'm a producer here in Canada. Shooting here in Toronto is completely different from shooting in Africa, specifically from shooting in Ethiopia. A lot of the policies, the infrastructure is not there. But I think that's also a testament to Beza as a director and the rest of the crew in terms of being able to think on their feet, being flexible, because that's what you have to really pull together to be able to shoot in a more complex scenario like where we shot this film.
One of the things I was actually, and please educate me on this. Religion was, if I'm correct, Christianity. I did not see any African religion ceremonies going on. Am I wrong with that? And if so, why was Christianity used instead of something else? Is that what I'm seeing is what is actually happens there?
Yes, I mean Ethiopia is really like a diverse country with regards to religion. A lot of divided between Christians and Muslims, and there's a lot of other religions in between as well. A lot of indigenous beliefs there as well, especially in the north. And so and also like the Ethiopian Orthodox Church is one of the oldest in Africa and in the world. And so it really has historically its own place in the country's history. And it was important to include it and to find a place for it in the film because it's really important in the community. But with regards to African religions, I don't know if you remember, but there is a part of the film that focuses on something I believe is an indigenous belief. People will see it, when they watch the film, but that was also part of the point of the film was to explore this idea of people believing in two different things, contradicting beliefs, and believing in each one as faithfully as they do. It's that contradiction that's also interesting for me. And so in the North, especially, these beliefs are really widespread. So there's a lot of different religions in the film.
What was more difficult, filming at night or filming during the day? And I want to add in too, and this is an Easter egg for folks who haven't watched it yet. Did you have to worry about animals in filming?
Well, not really, because most of the places that we were filming in were occupied spaces, like with a lot of people and communities there. But I think I would say the more difficult was the shooting at night because the wind was really tough and it was really cold. So we had a difficult time being outside, let alone filming. So I would say the night scenes were much harder to shoot, but the day scenes, were also tough.
As we slowly wrap this up, I want to ask both of you individually, what do you hope that viewers will get from this film?
I mean, for me, it's really a window into contemporary Ethiopia. I think, why I produce a lot of the things I do is because we don't hear from Ethiopians speaking from them for themselves the way the characters do in this film. Even your earlier question about the religions in Ethiopia, a lot of people don't have a lot of information. We remember things from the 80s, from the famines. We hear things sometimes on the media from, talking heads and academics. But that's really my hope, that people get to sort of look behind the veil and hear from actual people who live there, which I think are well represented through this film, even though it's a drama. And I think those are the ways to start conversations. And, perhaps you watching this film, Rudy, now you're going to have other questions and other things you want to learn about the country. And I think for me, that's a great takeaway.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would say I would want audiences to take what they want from it. I think the film is kind of open to interpretation. So depending on what you believe, depending on your background, your circumstance, and your history, I believe you'll come out of it with your own perspective and conclusions. So I would let the film do what it does, and for people to come out of there with their own ideas and conclusions.
Well, all I'm going to say is, folks, whoever's watching it, please bring a tissue with you, because you're going to need this for this film. Folks, thank you so much for this interview, but more importantly, thank you for putting together such a wonderful film. And I know a lot of people are going to enjoy it and be affected by this too. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.